My guest today is a deep, wise, and generous man. He's a devout Catholic. He's a recovering alcohol and heroin addict who has been sober for over 55 years and has dedicated much of his life to mentoring those suffering from addiction. He's also a family man who's been married to his high school sweetheart, Susan, for over 60 years, and together they have 3 daughters and many grandchildren. Oh, and by the way, he also happens to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's take a look at some of what he's done.
Each time we have a quarrel, it almost breaks my heart. I'm so afraid that we will have to part. Each night I ask the stars above, why must I be a teenager in love?
Today, I'm so excited to welcome to the show the musical legend Dion. I'm Julie Hartman, and this is Timeless. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. It's great as always to be with you. As a reminder that in addition to Timeless, you can also watch my show with Dennis Prager called Dennis and Julie. That premieres every Monday on this channel at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. And Timeless is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Dion DiMucci is in the house today. He's someone very apt for Dion, indeed. I bet he's heard that sound before. Many, many, many times over. Dion is someone who Bruce Springsteen described as the link between Sinatra and rock and roll. In 1958, Bronx-born Dion formed Dion and the Belmonts, which is named after Belmont Avenue in the Bronx. Their first hit, I Wonder Why, was quickly followed with their smash, you just heard it, Teenager in Love. Dion left the Belmonts to go solo, and in 1961, he had a #1 record with Runaround Sue, followed by The Wanderer, which made it to #2 on the charts. In 1968, Dion recorded my favorite of his songs, Abraham, Martin, and John, about the assassinations of Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy. In the 1980s, Dion ventured into Christian music, then he went into the blues, and he continues to release fantastic music, most recently American Hero with Carlene Carter, and soon an album, Girlfriends. And to top it all off, Later this year, the musical production of Dion's life, The Wanderer, is scheduled to open on Broadway. Yo, Dion, welcome to Timeless.
Yo, Julie. Yeah, I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
It's great to see you too. I'm so happy that you're joining us. What was it like to hear those songs?
Well, let me say this. Well, if I didn't know me, I'd be impressed. But well, folks, I've been listening to Julie Hartman ever since. Well, she's 24 now. I've been listening to her the good old days when she was 23. So I've been listening to Julie for about a year, and I feel like I'm getting a Harvard education. I discovered her because I was having some eye problems. I stopped watching TV and I started listening to the podcast. So, and you got Thinker of the Month with Machiavelli and Nietzsche and Dostoevsky and Samuel Adams, and I'm getting a Harvard education for free. So here I am.
Well,
I just love your show, and you visited Susan and I recently. You were coming east, and we got in touch with each other, and you came and you stayed with us. And a lot of people don't know that you have some sense of humor. Like I didn't know that.
Some people know it. It comes out sometimes. Maybe it'll come out more today, but yes, you saw it firsthand. It was so much fun to spend time with you and Susan in Florida. You were so gracious to have me, and I want to tell everyone I'm totally bragging because it was such a cool experience. Dion actually played some music for me. And of course, I requested Abraham, Martin, and John, and you were worried that it didn't sound quite right, but I think it's impossible for you not to sound great at all times. It was just a spectacular experience. I'll never forget it.
Oh, it was a pleasure having you there. Susan loves you.
Oh, well, I love her. We sat there and talked for hours and hours and hours at dinner, all about God, all about your life, your addiction journey, and I hope to bring some of that here today during our chat. I want to start off by asking you a question that I often wonder when I encounter people who have been famous or been in the public eye for a long time. And that is, I wonder if they feel that the public's perception of them is in line with who they really are. Do you think that's true of you, or do you think that there might be a misconception about you that the public has that you wish were different?
I don't think so. I've tried to be the same guy I am off stage. I just bring myself on stage. I don't change that much, I just put a guitar in my hand. When I traveled with Buddy Holly, it was funny because off stage, he was a very meticulous, statuesque, very decisive. He was almost like an accountant off stage. Well, you have a young audience. Maybe they don't even know who Buddy Holly is, and he was a first generation rock and roller who died in a plane crash at 22 years old. But off stage, he was like an accountant. He was very decisive and very meticulous, and like I said, statuesque. And but on stage, he'd strap a Strat around his neck, and he'd walk out, take the stance, and hold on to your butt, man, because he was going to take you on the trip. He would like. And that's the way it is, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I get to sing all these songs that I wrote and really had a lot of fun putting together. And, I go out and do a show. I feel like we're having a party, and I get to sing all the songs and and take people on a trip. And I'm not that hard to understand. Julie, when I was a kid, I listened to some people. Now, many of your listeners, maybe they won't know what I'm talking, or, the people I'm mentioning, but I heard Hank Williams when I was 10 years old. And I'm from Bronx, New York City, and my parents, they didn't drink, they didn't drug, they didn't curse. They didn't drink coffee. They didn't carouse. They just argued 24 hours a day. They were like emotional 13-year-olds. So when they would argue, my uncle got me a guitar and I'd go in the room. I heard this guy, Hank Williams, and I would try to put these songs together. And I became good at it because they were arguing. The more they argued, the more I played, you know. So he hurled me into a place of, I would say, an enchantment, you know, like pleasure and delight and like transcendent. It just transcended where I was at. It didn't exist in the Bronx. He took me to a place of enchantment, and my whole life has been to create a song, a melody, a sound, to take people on a trip, so I could transmit this feeling that I got when I was 10, 11 years old. I've been doing, now I'm 84. You're 24. So I've been doing this for like over like, oh God, how many, like 70 years. And I'm still the same. I still love putting a song together, putting a book together, putting a play together, whatever it is, just to take people on a trip and bring them to a place of enchantment, something that they don't experience in their everyday life. And that's what I'm all about.
You know, I started off by just quickly asking, how did you like hearing those songs? Or what did you feel when you saw your face up there, you know, many, many decades ago, singing Runaround Sue, singing The Wanderer? Do you look at that person and do you feel like you're the same person? Or have you changed?
No. Oh, I have changed. Yeah, I have changed. That person doesn't exist.
Really?
No, I'm a different. Yeah, that person doesn't. Well, something about the childlike person exists, and the beauty and the awe and the mystery and the wonder of life exists. But a lot of I've grown. You know, I've developed. I've matured. I've evolved. It's like I was an acorn. Now I'm an oak tree. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I love your one-liners. I call them Dionisms. You said one to me the other day when we were talking. You said, this is in a totally different sphere of thought, which we'll get into, but you said you're not punished for your sins. You're punished by your sins. I was like, that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. You also said to me the other day, maybe common sense isn't so common.
It isn't so common these days. You notice? People are just, wow, just there's no foundation. You know, I consider myself like I have you know, I would say, you know, my priorities. Like I'm a child of God first. If I'm right with God, I'm right with you. I'm right with Susan. I'm right with my band. I'm right with my friends. I'm right with my children. I'm right with myself. As long as I'm right with God, everything streams from that relationship. You were talking about Dennis Prager's grandchild a minute ago when we were off the air, and you were saying he's kind of plugged in. You know, he loves prayer, which is raising your heart and your mind to God. You know, it's a higher reality. And I live my life that way. I think everything I do streams from that relationship.
Mm-hmm. When did that relationship become a priority in your life? When we look at that Dion, again, in that video, singing The Wanderer, singing Runaround Sue, were you that religious person back then?
No, I wasn't. I was living in a world of chaos, you know, in my head. Today, if you would unzip my mind, there was a zipper up here and looked inside my brain. It's very ordered. I'm like, you know, it's just, I'm at peace. I feel a great sense of freedom. I didn't have that then. I had the gift, and I always, you know, the gift that God has given me to the ability to write songs and to sing, and these are things I discovered. I think everybody's created with. I think God creates everybody, gives everybody a gift, but sometimes people miss it. They don't tap into it. I was blessed to recognize it, and I kind of hone it over the years and work at it, and I enjoy it more today than I did when I was a kid because I don't know how to say this, but I have more concentration today to enjoy the people. Back then, I was like so involved in myself. I was like, I'm not much, but I was all I think about.
Hmm.
I was very self-centered, and today I'm like people-centered. I love people.
What changed?
Well, a short story. You know, I I was a kid. I told you like I fell in love with this music. I heard that Jimmy Reed was a blues guy, and man, he rolled, he grooved, he just took me to a place that I it did something inside me that got me on this road. Like I said, he took me to a place of enchantment. Hank Williams. I wanted to communicate like Hank Williams and groove like Jimmy Reed. And I got on that road, and I was fortunate enough uh, because I lived in the Bronx, a friend of mine took me down to a record company. They loved what I was doing, even at a young age. I was hanging out with this guy, Willie Green. He was a janitor in one of the tenement buildings in Bronx, New York City. And man, he knew songs like, My Baby Loves to Boogie and John Lee Hooker songs and Lightning Hopkins songs. And he taught me stuff. And when I entered that, recording company, I sang a few songs and they loved what I was doing. They signed me. And off I went. And I got like 12 gold records. I was traveling around the world with Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Roy Orbison, the Everly Brothers, Jerry Lee Lewis. I was like, it was a trip. I mean, it was exciting. But I had my feet firmly planted on a cloud. I didn't have, I wasn't plugged in. I wasn't centered. However you want to say that, I was, uh, I was a problem. I went to 7 high schools. I was like a juvenile delinquent, and really, I had a lot of, I had, I just didn't know how to handle my emotions. I'd swing out at people, and I belonged to a gang when I was a kid. We were like rappers in my neighborhood. And
The Fordham Baldies, you told me the name of the gang was. Is that right?
yeah, we we named ourselves after the American bald eagle. People think it's like bald heads, but it's
Well, at
not.
least you were a gang that in some way tried to honor America. I feel like at least you had something pertaining to America in your name. I feel like a lot of gangs right now are not calling themselves the Baldies after the bald eagle. So that's one consolation, I suppose.
Well, what happened to me back then is, I was over my head. I just didn't know how to handle my emotions and what was happening around me, and I wanted to please everybody. And I started using drugs, I started drinking, and it's very, it's progressive, and I got wrapped up. I was addicted. I was in bondage, and I didn't know how to get out. I was shooting drugs with a friend of mine, Frankie Lyman, whom you probably don't know. He was the lead singer of a group called the Teenagers. Why do fools fall in love? And we were bopping around into the 1968, and in 1968 February of that year, he died of an overdose,
Hmm.
and it really shook me to my core. I I just I it just the sorrow and the reality of it struck a fear in me. Julie, I think I was living on pride up until that moment. I was just thinking, who I am, what I was just, I don't know how to explain that, but I was, and then the mid 60s, I'd say like from maybe 63 to 68, when that addiction starts grabbing hold, you start blaming everybody for everything. It's like, uh, you just, you never, you always, that's how junkies and alcoholics do life. They blame everybody for everything. If only you people, you know what, you know what's wrong with you, and then, you never, and you become a real victim and you're blaming everybody. And that's the way I was doing life. And these are people I loved that I was pointing my finger at. And, but something happened to me. I met a guy in recovery, and he said, he talked to me, and man, something resonated in me so powerfully that I went to a 12-step spiritual based program with him. And that night I got on my knees. I said a prayer. I said, God, I don't know what I'm doing here. And Julie, I'll tell you, I had 12 gold records, $2 million I made, which none of my, back then, $2 million was a lot of money. Today it's a lot of money, but back then it was an enormous amount of money. It was, so maybe it would be 40 million today. I don't know what, with inflation, but I was just broken. I successful on the outside, but I was going to die, and I knew it. So I went to this meeting, and I've been blessed all my life. I've always, I don't know how to explain this, but I went to a meeting with him, and there in the foyer of this meeting was just a bunch of guys who were gathered around telling jokes to each other. They were sober, they were clean. I'm talking about Italians, Jewish guys, Irish guys, black guys, Asian guys. They're on their knees, they're laughing so hard. And I was coming out of an addiction. I was like hitting a bottom. And the way I explained my bottom is I ran out of excuses. I ran out of people to blame. I came to an end of my life on my terms. I was about to enter a world where I was about to live on God's terms. I didn't know that, but I didn't know anything. All I knew is these guys, the guys that I was watching, were real, and I wanted to know what they had. They were on a solid foundation of peace and love and forgiveness and mercy and beauty and truth and wisdom, and it was beautiful to me. So I walked in the room. I didn't know anything about steps. I didn't know anything about sponsors. I didn't know anything about God. I didn't know God from a hole in the wall. But after that meeting, I went home that night. I got on my knees. I said a prayer. When I got up, I was changed. I haven't had a drink or a drug since April 1st, 1968. And it was a miraculous healing for me. God took away the obsession to drink and drug. And I've never looked back, Julie. You say, am I the same person? I've been growing along spiritual lines ever since that day.
What you just said reminds me so much of what Aaron Prager said in a Timeless interview that we did together, which I know you watched. When Dion says he listens to Timeless, I'm so honored to say that he really does. I mean, when we were together in Florida, you asked me, you said, what's your relationship like with your surrogate mother? And I was like, gosh, he really does listen. This is so cool. So I know that you watched that episode and you know what I'm about to say, but Aaron also was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And he said that he hit rock bottom when he realized that he had no one else to blame for his problems but himself. And he, like you, had this total transformation that was really God-centered. And now, like you, he is in this life where God is the centerpiece of that life. And obviously, not everyone struggles with alcohol or drug addictions. But I think that people, especially now in 2024, I think that addiction of some sort is more rampant than we think, certainly in the realm of drugs and alcohol. But I think people are addicted to porn. I think people are addicted to social media. I just did a show on that. And more than anything else, I think people are addicted to certain worldviews, namely victimhood, wallowing in their, feelings of being oppressed or blaming other people for or societal occurrences for their problems instead of themselves. So I think what you say is so relevant, and I can't help but wonder, Dion, how much different many people would be in their lives if they took God as seriously as you do.
Well, there's a I think it's a quote. I think it's from John of the Cross or John Chrysostom, St. John. He said, the glory of God is a man fully alive. And that's the difference. If you want to be fully alive, you've got to take responsibility, and you've got to know how to take inventory and get rid of the things that offend God and that will bring you down. So, Julie, I'm from the Bronx. No, believe me when I tell you, no one walked up to me on a street corner in the Bronx and said, "Did you take inventory today, or do you know what's?"
No one from the Ford and Baldies did that?
No, we were born knowing everything. Why would we want to take inventory? Yo, the kid is here. What do you want to know? That was my attitude. Listen, the attitude I had in the Bronx, the code of the streets was reputation and respect. It had nothing to do with character. We didn't even know how to spell the word. It just had to do with posing and going, "Hey, yo, the kid is here. What do you want to know?" Like, we walked around like we knew everything. Julie, believe me, that I hit a wall. I found out that I didn't know too much.
Well, we see this now. I mean, maybe it's not in the Bronx flavor, the kid is here. But my gosh, I mean, you were just saying that you feel like I give you a Harvard education. I'm very flattered by that. Maybe I'm giving a Harvard education of what it was a few decades ago and not so much what it is now. But I would encounter people in high school and college, and they have this smugness, like they know everything and that they are the enlightened ones, especially when it comes to, political things, that they are holier than thou, that they know better than you. So again, these themes are so relevant to today. And this mindset is something that is present in all kinds of people. And to bring it back to God, well, I was going to say what I think God does to eliminate that, but I want to ask you, what is the alternative that you think God provides away from that smugness and that heightened sense of self?
Well, there'll come a time where you will be humbled, no doubt about it. The proud get humbled one way or another. Maybe it'll take a week, a year, maybe 50 years, but it'll happen. And when it happens, you look up. And for me, it happened when I was on tour with Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and the Big Bopper. And I won a coin toss to fly on a plane, but it only held 4 people, the pilot and 3 other guys. So when I heard it was $36, that was the amount that my mother and father argued about every day, because my father never worked. He was like an emotional 13-year-old. He never had a real job. he had wonderful qualities. Man, he could dive off bridges and sculpt, and he was an artist. He was exciting to be around. I loved the guy, but he didn't like to work. And my mother she had an exaggerated sense of her own responsibility. And so I grew up in this situation like that. And I was, I didn't know too much. I didn't have a blueprint for life. And I lost my thought. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the plane that you won the coin toss to go on, but flying on the plane cost $36.
Well, when that plane went down 4 minutes after it took off, and I found out the next day. But I was traveling with these guys. I was 19 years old, and this was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me. And now, three guys that I was on the bus with, singing songs with, and sharing, different personalities and different approaches to songs. And I was alone on the bus, looking at their outfits hanging up and their hats in the coat rack, and I was wondering, who am I? Where am I going? What's life all about? Why is there something rather than nothing? I'm like on the bus thinking, who thought of asking me? I never thought of asking these questions. But when I got back to my neighborhood, I went to see a priest over at Mount Carmel Catholic Church, which was the hub of Little Italy in my Bronx neighborhood. And he told me, he said, Dion, he said, in our faith, relationships never end. They don't end. They continue. In fact, they don't remain stagnant. He said, those guys, they're closer to the beatific vision and they're growing. So you just keep them in your prayers and talk to them. By the time you see them again, your relationship will have moved forward. And who thought of this? I had no idea what this guy was talking about. But I just learned to stay open and listen. And sometimes when people talk the truth, it just resonates. It kind of, there's no contradictions. It meets all the facts. It gives you great peace, and it makes you open and just and I have a gift of surrounding myself with wonderful people. So I think that's why I'm still here at 84 with some degree of sanity. In the rock
A lot
and
of
roll
degrees. Many, many degrees. Isn't it weird and interesting how things in your life which can seem so bad can serve you later? I mean, I think about that with your plane experience. I mean, you grew up in a house where your parents were fighting all of the time viciously about various things, including the rent. And you heard over and over, $36 in rent, $36. And then, fast forward to 1961, you get to go on that plane, but when you hear it's $36, that is the singular thing that makes you get off the plane and saves your life. Life
Right.
works in funny ways. That your parents fighting saved your life.
Yeah, when my mother died at 104, and I was having lunch with her, like when she was in her late 90s, and she said to me, Dion, I'm really sorry your dad and I argued. I know it just it bothered you tremendously, so I just want to apologize for arguing. I said, no. I said, you saved my life. Don't worry about it. I love you.
It's true. Well, boy, wow, your mom lived to 104. That bodes very well for you. That's a long life.
I thought getting old would take longer.
Another Dionism, my friends, I'm telling you.
But
We
I'm
got to
here.
write them down, make them t-shirts.
So listen, you were so interested in the idea of how you change where I was, where I am, and I wanted to tell you some of the things I've learned. Well, being in this spiritual based program, Julia, the first thing I learned was about love. Uh, a guy ran up to my mentor and he said, "I don't love her anymore." He had his wife. Excuse me. He had his wife in tow. He was a young guy. He said, I don't love her anymore, Jack." He said, I'm getting divorced. And Jack said, "Well, then love her." He said, "No, did you hear me? I don't love her anymore." And Jack said, "Well, I said love her." He said, and I'm listening to this. I'm saying, "What's he, deaf?" And the guy repeats it again. He says, "No, you didn't hear me. I don't love her anymore. I'm getting a divorce." And Jack said, "Then love her. Love isn't a feeling. It's a choice. It's an act of your will. You choose to love. Then you feel good." He said, I think so. I heard that, and and who defined love in my neighborhood?
Hmm.
No. So and then I learned that a big thing that you have to learn is that love and approval are two different things. If you think if you think love, if you're seeking approval and you think it's love, you'll be seeking approval all your life. You'll be in trouble. It's not love. I have three daughters. I tell them, "Sweetheart, you don't have to live up to my expectations. You're not obligated to me in any way. All I ask of you is when you have to make a decision, consult your mind, your heart, your conscience, your God, make the best decision possible. I'm good with that. I love you." You know? So, I learned these things. And another thing I learned in this program, Julie, these are, I'm spinning off of the first question you asked is, how did you change or are you the same? And I was talking to my sponsor one day, and he said, "Do you know where feelings come from?" I said, "No, I have no idea where feelings come from." And he said, "They come from your thoughts.
Hmm.
He said, whatever you're thinking, you will feel. If you're walking down the street and you're saying, 'I'm getting old and my job is this and my car broke down and the thing and my girlfriend is this,' and then by the time you hit the corner, you're depressed." He said, feelings come from thoughts. And that's been a big help over the years, because if I'm like in a little bit of a mood, I just track my thinking, say, What's on your mind?" And you can change the channel. Uh, so you learn these things, which I had no idea about. But I think the biggest thing I learned, and I think to answer that question maybe fully that you asked, is I think when you're not connected, when you're not centered, when you don't have God in your life or a sense of being home, you have to fill yourself up with something. And the mentor in my life used to, quote Thomas Aquinas, and Bishop Barron's very good with this too. He says, if you don't have God in your life, you're going to try to fill yourself up with these four main substitutes, these typical addictions. These the four are wealth. You'll think money will be a god, or pleasure, sex, drugs, rock and roll, or power. You have to have position, or honor. You got to be right. You got to win. You got to be better. You just watch the Jersey Housewives, you'll see it.
Oh,
And,
I watch them, as you know.
well, you know what I'm talking about. But this is what I was about. I'm not putting anybody. This this is me. You know, before my awakening. You know, and I would be I would be filling myself up on Julie. I had like $2 million, and nobody in my family won like this.
Hmm.
And I had 12 gold records on the wall. I'm like, I got a great contract. And inside, there's something wrong, something missing. I don't know what it is. And so the idea is if you have a mild depression and you're thinking, well, what do I have to do? You know, what? Oh, I know what. I need more wealth, pleasure, power, and honor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, money. I was with my beautiful girlfriend Susan, who was my childhood sweetheart. So I had the relationship going. I had position, and I had honor. I mean, I had an auditorium of 8,000 people clapping for me singing a simple song. Who gets this? You don't get a mechanic tuning a car perfectly, and there's a whole bunch of people going, "Yo, Jack, you did it." I had a great job. But my idea is like, no, I need more. I thought that was the answer. But you see, once you open your heart to your Creator, you find out that God created us in such a way only to work well when we're in union with Him. And those 12 steps were designed to lead me into union with Him. And the most courageous thing a man can do is open his heart to his Creator. And then when you get centered like that and you open up and you become like, your identity becomes, I'm a child of God. It's not who I am, it's whose I am. Then
Another one.
He shapes your desire for wealth, pleasure, power, and honor. And the way it was explained to me is that that is true freedom. Not that those four things are bad. We're not Puritans. You know, they are good. You can serve God with money. You could you could be real helpful if you have money, or even fame. You could use it properly. But it's the disciplining. True freedom is the disciplining of desire, so as to make the achievement of the good first possible, and then effortless, and it becomes automatic. And I thought freedom was doing anything you wanted, especially if you didn't get caught. You know, self-sufficient, do anything you want. I was a loud mouth, like you get like that. But it's not. It's freedom is the ability to do God's best, And thank God I'm free today to at least be open to that.
Before we continue with Dion, I want to quickly tell you about My Pillow. I use a lot of My Pillow products. I wear my slippers. I sleep on the My Pillow. I also sleep on the Giza Dream bed sheets. And on top of that, I use my towels. And you can get a lot of these products at a discount, too, if you use the promo code Hartman or call 1-800-566-6745. Now, My Pillow obviously is known for the pillows, but they didn't stop at the pillow. They created the Giza Dream bed sheets, which, as I said, I sleep on. They look great, they feel great, and they help facilitate a better night's sleep, which all of us certainly need. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. Mike's Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. The Giza Dream sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors, and you can get them for a limited time at 50% off. You'll get a set for as low as $29.98 if you use the promo code Hartman. So just go to mypillow.com and click on the radio podcast square and use the promo code Hartman. There you will find not only this great offer, but also deep discounts on a lot of MyPillow products, including the MyPillow 2.0 mattress topper, MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and now even flannel sheets, and so much more. Again, just call 1-800-566-6745 and use the promo code Hartman, or go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Hartman. It is true that you do feel more free when you are oriented in a good direction. In fact, actually, that's what Aaron Prager, he said that one of the acronyms that he learned in AA is that God is good, orderly direction. Another one that he says is ego is edging God out. There's so much wisdom in AA, but people would think that you are less free when you are beholden to a god. Nietzsche, as you probably know from my Nietzsche episode with Spencer Clavin, that's one of the objections that Nietzsche has with Christianity. He says it's a slave religion because you're not thinking independently. You're not being an Ubermensch. You're not being a strong person. You're inherently a slave. You're a sheep if you're following someone else's ideology. And certainly in some cases that is true, but that is not true with God. You are more free when you are going in that good, orderly direction. And we can't just be cast adrift. We all need that good, orderly direction.
You don't know it until you open up to it. It's really like you're blind. Nietzsche, he probably thought that God was a competitive God. He was going to bust in on him and compete with him. And God, that's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible wants you to be fully alive. He really wants to. Where do you think? Listen, if I have a gift, there must be a gift giver. And being connected to him, wouldn't it flourish? Wouldn't I come into the more fullness of faith and life and be open and wisdom and goodness and truth and beauty? So he just was stuck. He was a bright guy, but he was like, he never put his head out of the skylight, like, oh wow, what's up here?
He was a weird one in particular. I think there were times when he thought he might have been the Antichrist, but your point is well taken that people in general who have these objections need to kind of give themselves the opportunity to see what you're talking about. I wonder, Dion, it's very clear from what you've been saying and just your presence as a person, the way that God has affected you personally. I wonder how your relationship with him has affected you professionally, because I know that it is very easy when you are in the public eye, not that I'm a singer, and certainly not that I'm a singer in front of thousands and thousands of people, but I understand how much self-doubt and self-criticism can cripple you. And it's a double-edged sword, because you want to be appropriately self-flagellating so that you can do better. But if you take that too far, it can inhibit you from achieving your potential. I can imagine that over your years of being in front of massive crowds, you have felt nervous. You've thought, what am I doing? Can I do this? Am I good enough? How has God helped you at all? And has he eliminated or mitigated those feelings?
He has definitely. Those, you just open up and you realize that the gift is for others. It's not for you. I mean, yes, but it's like, take the chosen people, right? The chosen people. God doesn't choose people for them to sit in their chosenness. He chooses them for the sake of the world, for the sake of showing the world what this relationship can be. It would be a terrible thing for me to sit and just think, well, I got this. That's like an insanity. I was with a friend once. I think I see this thing. Sun. I'm sitting in.
It's
my
kind
room.
of divine, I have to say. Right when we started talking about God, I see this bright light. Let's go with it. Let's roll with
it. So, but what was I saying, Julie? I'm like,
you had a friend.
Yeah, I was with a friend, and he said everybody knows who you are. I said, yeah. If I ever thought like that, that's insane. That borders on insanity, or it is insane. Of course it's insane. Like they asked Keith Richards once, how does it feel to be a living legend? He said the legend part's easy. He said it's the living part that's hard.
This guy. So let's talk about your wife, Susan. You've been married for over 60 years, which is really an incredible accomplishment. And I know from my meeting her and seeing the way that you guys interact, that you have a very strong bond. To what do you attribute that bond? I mean, even of course, when you're very much in love with someone, you care about someone deeply, being married for 60 years, not that I would know, but I can make an educated guess that it's difficult. What advice do you have for people as they enter relationships and endeavor to get married and build a life with someone?
Well, never take your partner for granted, or never take your wife for granted. Uh, the other thing is, Susan moved down from Vermont into the Bronx. You want to know? I'm telling the story that's in the play. It's a beautiful story the way my friend Charles Messina wrote it. Because when she moved to the Bronx, she was exotic to me. I mean, she's a farm girl, but
Because she wasn't Italian?
Yeah, she had Gracie and Maria, and you know,
She's
like,
Irish. Good Irish
yeah.
girl.
So I just wanted to get close to this girl any way I could. So and she, when we got married, it's funny. There was a lot of things that I'll give you some of the things that happened in our marriage to show you the way she thinks. Back in the early '60s, there was an offer made to me for $10,000, and I was travailing over I didn't know if I wanted to do this, and I was like, should I do this, or 10,000? That's a lot of money. Like 10, should I? She said, Dion, take the money out of the decision, and just make the decision. Now we didn't have a lot. It was early on, and so it shows you where she was at. I mean, who would think of a thing like that? So I made the decision and I didn't go.
Hmm.
Then when I was taking drugs for a while, she said to me, Dion, if you choose to keep doing that, she said, listen, I'd go to hell for you. But if you choose to keep doing that, you could go to hell for yourself. I'm out of here. But she didn't mix words, man. She was strong. And it comes from Vermont. She was close to the earth, and very spiritual. I mean, her Catholicism, she wasn't practicing, she wasn't going to church or anything, but I think it was in her DNA. She was a natural, kind of like you, Julie.
Hopefully. But it's amazing with your marriage and your relationship. I mean, she has really seen you in particular through peaks and valleys. She met you when you were not famous, when you did not believe in God, when you were struggling with addiction, and she has seen all of those things change, and not just change, but change dramatically. And it kind of raises the question, I think about this. Sometimes I fear, if I get married, will I change, or will my partner change? Or are we no longer the people that we married? And in your case, you were certainly no longer the person that she married. And yet you got through it. How?
You become more. You don't become less. Take my word for it. You become much more. It opens you up to love. It opens you up to. It's hard to explain, but it goes much deeper than the first time I saw her, and just was, taken by her. Just wanted to talk to her and be with her, but it goes much deeper. It just gets deeper and deeper, and it's and wider and richer and more wonderful and beautiful and good and true. And it just makes, like I said, it makes you fully alive. At my age now, I know you're 24, but I'm at my age now. And I was brought up by a mother who said, "Be self-sufficient." Now, you're talking about the kids today. A lot of them are so jaded and just whine, and they expect that. I don't know. They're just, I don't know. I don't know if it's the phones. I don't know what it is. Social media. I don't know what's going on with that. But
It's a combination of things.
Well, my mother was like, be self-sufficient. I mean, I got my mother was so strong that she had two jobs, and she'd come home with her coat on and start cooking dinner. And there was always clean sheets on the bed and good meals. I mean, you could see I'm healthy at 84. I mean, we had good meals. I mean, she'd cook, and it didn't come out of boxes. Believe me, Anyway, so now at my age, I was sitting with a friend of mine, Stevie Van Zandt, and I was going through some of these rehearsals with the Wanderer, the play, trying to keep it on track, and place the music right, and just I'm involved in that sense. So I was having lunch with him, and I asked him to help me, and he looked at me like I was crazy, and he said to me, Dion, I'll be there tomorrow. He said, I would have never asked you. I would have never. I know the way you are. You want to do everything yourself. He said, I'll be there tomorrow. And Julie, I can't tell you, it opened my life up to the last, I would say, 7, 8 years. In the last 3 years, I've made 3 albums: Blues with Friends and Stomping Ground. I was just asking my friends, people that I knew, just to help me out. Eric Clapton came in, played on a song. Peter Frampton, Mark Knopfler, Jeff Beck. I had Billy Gibbons, Joe Bonamassa, just Ricky Lee Jones. I mean, I'm probably mentioning people that you don't know, but the idea of I would have never asked for help. It's such a wonderful time of life for me to these relationships have gotten stronger, more giving, more openness to receive, not taking, but an openness just to receive people's love and care and brilliance and masterful, fascinating talent that they bring to these songs. So I'm having a great time. Like you mentioned, girlfriends. I did it with a bunch of women. I call it the feminine genius. I did some liner notes, and I talk about my mother, my sisters, my wife, my 3 daughters, my 4 granddaughters that I have, and I've always been around women, and the atmosphere changes when they walk in the room, and there's something about it. I think men are trying to just fight for attention or some kind of I don't know what it is, but the atmosphere changes, and I know that because my 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 producer Wayne Hood, he's married to a beautiful blonde girl. She looks like a model. So he says when I go to rehearsal alone, nobody cares. I bring Aaron with me into the room. Forget about it. The whole room changes. So so these wonderful, artistic, amazing, spectacular players. I mean, they're off the charts, and beautiful women came in and made added their talent to each of these songs I gave them. There's 12 songs on the album. We have one coming out, let's see, this Friday, and it's called "I Aim to Please." I did it with a girl named Danielle Nicole, who's, believe me, one of the best singers on the planet. I mean, she is unbelievable. So it was a lot of fun. What I'm trying to say is, I'm so happy I lived this long to discover that asking and opening up to being, refused or turned down or all those little fears you get. Like, I mean, they're not unreasonable asks, but it's just a joy that it's something I'm enjoying. I never felt like this. I feel like I caught a wave and I'm like just gliding, it's a lot of fun.
You mentioned your new music. One of the songs that recently came out is called American Hero. I mentioned it in the introduction, and you sing it with Carlene Carter. I want to play a little bit of it for the audience, and then I have a question for you about this song. Let's hear it.
We saw the lights go down across the land. We were waiting for someone to take the stand.
And there was no one near to hear the call. No one listening to us at all.
Hey, now, you know we need an American hero. Right now, we're searching for an American hero who will stand up tall for everyone. I grew up in a little town just off the grid. We didn't have a dime to spend, but no one did.
We watched the world from far away. It was growing darker every day.
Hey, now, you know we need an American hero. Right now, we're searching for an American hero who will stand up tall for everyone. Everyone.
It is such a beautiful song. Would you ever expect a rock star to write or sing a song like that? That is what I kept thinking when I heard the song for the first time. And the thing about you, Dion, that I think is so unique and I admire beyond words, really, is that you have a worldview that one would not expect for a rock and roller or a typical artist. And perhaps that's an unfair assumption for me to make. You tell me if it is, but you're devoutly religious. You love the United States of America. You just sang a song about the need for an American hero. Just hearing you talk in this interview, sometimes I have to go back to the fact that you're also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Your worldview seems very unique for your profession. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well,
And by the way, I just want to say, I don't want to interrupt you, but the reason I say this is, you see a lot of rock and rollers and they're very brash and, they don't strike me as the people who would talk about the glory of God or talk about the glory of the United States of America. A lot of artists think that it's kind of soft to believe in something like that. It's not edgy, it's not cool to have those traditional beliefs, but you do.
well, shame on them because, and I know some people that think like that. And I just think it's ludicrous. It's, these young kids with this heroic virtue have laid down their lives to give us the freedom we have. And you said it in your senior speech at Harvard that, they fought to give us this freedom. We could criticize the government and go to bed and wake up the next morning and people still respect us. And we have that freedom of speech. And it's a shame to use it to put down this country because it's the greatest country in the world. There's never been a country like this. The other thing is I like to stick with the founding fathers of everything. If it's religion, I read the apostolic fathers of the church, the first 300 years. They were all martyred. Okay, why were they martyred? Polycarp, Clement, Ignatius, all martyred, upside down, dipped in hot oil. I mean, swords going through them, fed to animals. Why did they do this? Not one of them went, wait a minute, let me change my. I wanted to know why they did this. Well, when you read, you get in touch with something very real, and it's not, it's not a surface thing. It's not a thin veneer of what a man is. It's real deep. And then you go to the founding fathers of the country, of this country. They invented liberty. When I was a kid, my grandfather took me to the southern point of Manhattan. He used to take me to operas also, but he took me to the. I'm talking about 8 years old, and he pointed to the Statue of Liberty, and he said, "That's the Statue of Liberty." Dion, he said they should erect the Statue of Responsibility over there on the East Coast there, of Manhattan. He said because with great freedom comes great responsibility. So I feel it's a shame that, like, I don't know why they do that. I have no idea. There's like a disconnect. I don't feel that at all. I feel so blessed because I came from nothing and I had all these opportunities to achieve and to work and to, it was all about merit and earning. Today, it's like, I don't know, man. It's like the victim gets all the attention and the money. It's
Amen. Crazy. So why did you call the song American Hero instead of just singing about the need to change things? Why include American?
Well, like I said, this country is something really unique. It's the founding fathers. What they put together here is they invented liberty. It didn't exist, Julie. And I appreciate that because we could talk about anything we want to talk about it. And I thought, people are looking to cable news. They look to Fox, to CNN, to MSNBC. They're looking to Hollywood, to the tabloids, to, just all over for somebody to be the hero in their life or to save them. And I thought it would be good for everyone. Just the song is written for the ordinary man, for the ordinary person like you and me. Look inside your heart. Be a hero to the 10 people that are around you, and the world would be a much better place. It would, it just would. I thought everybody should rise to the challenge. There's a line in the song that says, "Why are we waiting from afar? Let's be the heroes that we are."
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Each person. But complaining and pointing fingers is not going to do it. It's going to destroy the country, because a country divided will fall. It can't exist. It's gonna fall. It has to have. We have, the United States of America. We have to be united on something. And I think, you had Monica Harris on, and she wrote that book. The Illusion of Division, and in some way, there's something so true about that, because if you get on the 50-yard line and you talk to people, they're concerned. A lot of people are concerned about the same things. Of course, you got people who are discontents, and you can't coddle a discontent. They're just, there's nothing you can do to change them. They're just unhappy, and they want to make everybody else unhappy. And I got I got too much to do in my life and too many people to love and to care for and to be with and to enjoy than to hang out with people like that. So maybe I don't know too much about what's going on, because I don't hang out with people like that.
You're a gem, Dion. There are few people like you. I feel so lucky to know you and that you've joined us today. In our final time, can you tell us a little bit about your new albums and, of course, your upcoming show on Broadway about your life, The Wanderer, which I know that you're in the throes right now of rehearsals and production about?
Well, in a way, the play encompasses everything we were talking about. I wanted to uh, put together a story. Well, I didn't put it together. Charles Messina wrote it. But you want to know, he's a friend of mine. He's a writer from Lower Manhattan. He's an Italian Catholic kid, and he's a great writer. He knows how to entertain people with great substance. You give me something of substance, and you can entertain me all day long. So, so that's the way he wrote the play. It's like it has early street rock and roll history. It has action. The street gangs, like the young Sopranos, and then it has the romance, and it has betrayal and overcoming and great music and a lot of laughs, and it takes people on a trip. And I've seen it. One of the I like these simple compliments. When it was running at Paper Mill, we had a limited run at Paper Mill just to show everybody what it was about, and it got great reviews. But I walked out. I was in the parking lot. I had to meet somebody one day, and the valet out there, he said, "You got to hit play." And I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Nobody leaves during intermission. Nobody." He said, "I've never seen that." He said, "People leave all the time." He said, "Nobody leaves."
Wow.
So I I look at little things like that. I enjoy them to hear from from a perspective like that. But it's a joy, Julie. I wish you could, when we start rehearsing this play before it hits the theaters. You should come to New York and just sit in, because just be in the room with these like 60 talented people. It's just very uplifting. It's like it it just it keeps me young. It's wonderful to be around young, talented people who care and work hard. What a work ethic on these people! That's unbelievable. So that play is going to hit in the fall of 2024. We're in the process of just signing the lease of the theater, and I must tell you that uh, it it we wanted to take people on this really glorious trip to bring them some hope. I don't know if I haven't seen a lot of plays on Broadway, so I really don't know. But I remember seeing some when I was a kid. But I, I just think it brings a lot of hope, and like wanted to for it to just wanted people to leave with a feeling of awe, of wonder, of beauty, of mystery, of just a higher reality, you know. And my whole point to the thing was, when I was with Charles, I never seen him take out a computer and write. I've never seen him take notes. He just wrote from the top of his head. And the thing is that it it's it's unbelievable. It's like it's something. This kid's really good. I wanted to say something, but I forgot what it was. I got off on a tangent.
Well, we call Dennis and Julie Tangent Hour, so why can't Timeless be the same? I- Is there anyone who you haven't met that you would like to meet?
Hmm. What a great question. Well, yeah, just a whole lot of people. I'm not someone that. It's a good question. I just like meeting so many people. You know, it just it's a wonderful thing. But you know, I'm into ordinary people. It's not like I have somebody up there that's gonna like, you know. But I'll tell you something. The friends I've made in recent years, I'd say in the last 10 years, have been true treasures. I thought that friends that you had when you grew up were the only true friends, you know, bedrock. You can't get better friends than that. They knew you when you were this, but it's not true. Friends you make when you're older are just treasures. And about meeting people, I'd have to sit down and make a list. But
Well, what you just said about meeting new friends, ordinary people, and having them be treasures, that's kind of the philosophy that I've adopted in my life, and look where it's led me. When I was having dinner with Dion and Susan in Florida, Dion made this joke at the beginning where he goes, Julie, I should say, you're making friends in the opposite direction. You know, we're in our 80s. You got to go make friends that are more your age and 20s and 30s. And I said to you, a lot of my best friends are significantly older than I am. And it's, you know, I'm not that I am anti having friends my age. I also have a lot of friends my age. But I just view life as an opportunity to collect treasures in people. I don't care if they're male or female. I don't care if they're gay or straight. I don't care if they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian. I don't care if they're old or they're young. I don't care if they're a rock star or someone with a PhD or somebody with a radio show. I don't care. I just love finding those treasures of people, and that is what I have found in you. The reason I love our friendship is because I feel like I haven't made friends with Dion the rock star. I've made friends with Dion, the deep, remarkable person who has so much to teach me.
Julie, you are remarkable. You know, I have grandkids like a little older than you. I have and younger, but I've never met a 23-year-old. Well, I was listening to you when you were 23, and when you came here, I said you're going the wrong way. You got to go the other way. But I tell you, you're remarkable. 23 years old, man. I can't tell you where I was. I had my head. Forget about it. I don't want to say it, but I was nowhere. I was walking around going, what? Who? What?
Dion, thank you so much for being here today. It has been so much fun, and please know that you are welcome anytime.
It's been a joy, Julie. You stay well.
You too, my friend. And please, everyone, look out for Dion's new album, Girlfriends, which is coming out very soon. And also, of course, look out for the play The Wanderer, which, as Dion said, is coming in fall of 2024. And we're already in 2024. I was going to say next year, but here we are. It takes a few months. I'm going to give myself till March to remember that it's the new year. Thank you all very much for joining me. As always, you can write into me at julie@julie-hartman.com. I love hearing from you, and I'll see you soon. Take care.